It's time to check your money with America's money maven, Vicki Brackens. Vicki Brackens is the president of Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of LPL Financial, member SIPC. February is here, Vicki.
Look at us, George.
We ready. Hey,
We're
Vicki,
absolutely
we're
ready.
ready.
Oh, gee. Yes, okay. We're ready. All right.
Ready.
All right. Well, listen, George. Okay, again, as you said, February is here, and I'm reminding everyone that we're getting closer and closer to our date for the 16th annual Black History Month Jazz and Arts Cabaret, which is going to be held there at the Finger Lakes Room at the Marriott downtown Syracuse. This year's performer is Miss India Owens, along with her band, which is the Cookout, and the Pioneer Public Service Award is being presented to the president of the Senate, Miss Andrea Stewart Cousins. We are looking forward to. I haven't heard from her office yet about the conga line, although I'm sure they heard what you said last week.
Okay.
Because we're all getting ready. Okay, I'm exercising now, George, because we're a week away. Okay, all right, from a great time that we're anticipating having there. So, George, I want you to stop for a moment because I'm going to ask you some questions.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, yes. Okay,
I always fail at these questions, but go ahead. I
want you to just reach into your memory bank and really get ready for these questions.
All right.
Because right now we are starting to hear some things on the economic front that are actually extremely good news, but may be interpreted incorrectly because it's not familiar with us. And so I'm going to try and clear up some things today.
Okay.
But I want to do this by giving you some analogies and asking you to go back into your memory bank. So what I'd like for you to do is to think about, now I know you and Gloria, how long have you been married now?
32 years.
32 years, okay. I want you to think about you and Gloria about the same time as me and Earlene, 31 years. Think about that first kiss. Ooh, see, it went a boom. Woo, okay, think about that first kiss, okay? Now, I also want you, and this may not be Gloria, but think about also that first heartbreak in your life.
The first what?
Heartbreak.
Oh, yeah, okay.
The first time somebody broke your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think. I want you to hold on to those two emotions because we're going to discuss them in relation to what's happening with the economic news that we are experiencing. I'm going to try and put a couple things up on screen for us here. Okay. So this is a new term. The term is disinflation. We talk about inflation all the time. Inflation, pricing going up. But we've never really talked about disinflation. And we're at the point in the economy where we should start discussing this particular term because it is an important transition term. The Federal Reserve has come to the point where they have, at least currently, decided that they are not going to raise rates anymore. Why? Because inflation actually is tipping down. But when we think about down, we think maybe that pricing will go down with it. And what they're saying is that inflation is starting to abate, starting to go down. We have a disinflationary period, which really means, and I love the way CNBC or CNN did this in their business report. This is where I pulled the slide from for this week. How disinflation doesn't necessarily mean that prices go down. What it means is that the pace of inflation is slowing. Now, in some areas, we have seen pricing go down. You look at your gas pump lately.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's been a significant drop, okay, where pricing is actually going down. But for the most part, we're still saying, prices are really high. But what's happening is that the rate of increase has slowed down dramatically so that we are actually getting closer to that 2% inflation rate that the Federal Reserve has said is their target. We don't really want pricing across the board to go down because pricing going down across the board means that we have deflation. And deflation is not actually a good thing because it means that economic activity has slowed down to the point where we are out of balance on the opposite end. And that causes things like price dropping, employment drops, meaning that layoffs are happening, pricing around things like your homes and so forth start to go down. What we want is disinflation. We don't want inflation to continue to climb month to month at the pace that it was in the past. Remember that 1 month that we had, I think it was about a year ago, where prices jumped almost 10%, 9.1% in 1 month? That is not where we want. So right now we're in an area of disinflation. Why did I ask you about remember that first kiss and remember that first heartbreak?
Yeah, why did you ask me that?
Thank you, George. You got your cue. Okay. Here's why I asked you that. Look at these 3 dates. Moments of great inflation since World War II. 1947, March, 1974, December, and 1980, March. 19.7% back in March of 47, 12.3% December of 74, and 14.8% March of 1980. 2 of those segments you and I have lived through.
That's right.
Okay, we have lived through those. One of those, there's actually individuals who are in our community who've lived through all 3. They have an emotional memory of what it took to go through these particular time periods. So their reaction to inflation, while they may not like it, is not nearly as strong as that first kiss, because they have gone through and have had a habit. They have emotional resilience. A good portion of our population, though, has no emotional resilience around this because they've never lived through this before. So you think of your Gen Zs and what is it, Gen Xs, okay, millennials, they've never lived through any of this. So the way they feel about it is like that first kiss, that strong, or that heartbreak, that strong emotional impact around everything that's happened. In fact, back in 74, mortgage rates were around 10%. And in October of 81, mortgage rates were actually 18.63%. Can you imagine that? I can imagine this because I was a realtor during that time period and I sold a lot of houses. Okay, during that time period, we did different things as far as how we financed, but it wasn't, as I said, the sky is falling because we had started to live through time periods where the inflation area and the mortgage rates were actually climbing consistently. But if you are an individual who's never lived through either one of these periods, when you look at this, which is what I pulled up the average rates for mortgages across the 3 major segments, which would be commercial loans, FHA loans, and VA, which right now are trending around 7.5% to 7.8%. You think the sky is falling. You think it's impossible for me to get a home. No, it is not impossible for you to get a home. You have to understand basic finance and how to adjust your expectations and what kind of what kind of terms that work best for you. But to say that I can't get a home is impossible. I lived through this. I know you can get a home.
18.63.
You lived through this. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, but we've forgotten. But the great news is that we are now in a disinflationary period, meaning the rate of change as far as how rapidly rates are going up, how rapidly inflation is going up, has absolutely slowed down. And we should start to see, all things being equal, always put that comma, all things being equal, we should start to see not only a flattening, but possibly later in the year, an actual cut on some of the rates, but many times the market starts to cut before the Federal Reserve starts to cut. We are in a really good place. Jobs are solid. The unemployment rate has gone down dramatically and it continues to go down. Manufacturing is up. Manufacturing is running at a breakneck speed. We're in disinflation. The rate of inflation has actually started to come down. And we have not entered a recession. That was the talk, remember?
I remember.
That was the talk. Is this going to be a soft landing, or are we going to dip below the curve and actually end up in a recession? All things being equal, now we actually have what we call a Goldilocks scenario. God, thank you, okay, for that Goldilocks scenario. And we expect that to continue to happen going forward. Questions, George, before we close? Anything?
So disinflation means that?
Disinflation means the rate of inflation is slowing.
There you go. Basically,
the rate of inflation is slowing, okay? And that's what that 2% target was. Not to say that pricing, we'll never see 2019 pricing again. That's history. We'll never see that again, okay? But that the rate of inflation, the rate of increase is slowing toward that 2% target number. All right, George. So for all of you who have missed it, see you next week, okay? We told you before that we had a quest going on to build institutions. I will say it again. In order to build institutions, we need human capital. Brackens Financial Solutions Network will love to have conversations with anyone who wants to consider what it takes to be a great financial planner, so that we can talk about the educational requirements, the things that are necessary in order to enter this field. George, at this point in time, I'm going to say, please make sure you share and subscribe to this podcast. Share, especially this conversation around disinflation. And make sure you share and subscribe. And if you have questions, give us a call at area code 315-930-4499. Our plate is now full.
All right, Vicki Brackens is the president of Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of LPL Financial, member SIPC. She is America's money maven.